60% of those companies provide software products. Why? Because software is accessible. It's easy. Most people have it. It's something that's going to help you, like that grocery delivery service of Instacart. It's going to help get that to as many people as possible. Without the use of, software, that wouldn't be possible. And then the last trait that we have on this Unicorn Club list is customer focused. Over 60% of unicorns have a B2C, a business to consumer model. They identify ways to improve consumers' lives. And that is the main thing. If you have an idea, if you have a solution, as small as it might sound, if it's going to help somebody's life, if it's going to convenience somebody's life, that is when the users are going to come and use that product. And that's what these unicorn companies have figured out, is that if they can give a solution that's going to improve their consumers' lives, then they're good to go. And these are just a couple of the traits that make up that unicorn status. So let's move on to the next section here, right? We kind of understand, as an entrepreneur, as a startup, some of the traits of these super successful companies, right? Are these entrepreneurs, are these startups unlocking their potential with UX UI design? And that's what we have to think about. Let me kind of turn it back on you guys for just a second. Has anybody in this on this call heard of UX UI design before? All right, I see a lot of yeses coming through. Does everybody think that UX UI design has to do with something super technical, like maybe even coding, or have to do with some sort of technical skills between designing websites and applications? Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of yeses come through as well. And while it's true, yes, UX UI designers do possess some incredible technical skills to be able to come up with these designs of websites and applications that we use. The truth is, not everything within UX UI design has to be a technical type of skill. And there are so many amazing skills that you learn through the UX UI design process that help unlock the potential and get closer to these users, exactly like we saw on that unicorn list. And that's what a lot of these companies are even trying to mimic now. Some of these larger companies, because they're so big, they want to get back into that entrepreneurial mindset. And that is what UX UI design is helping them do. It's helping them get closer to the users, get into that entrepreneurial mindset, and constantly innovate to stay in the market and stay competitive. So again, I'm going to go back to another quote. As I mentioned, we love quotes here to kind of get us into that UX UI design mindset. Something Henry Ford, the entrepreneur of Ford Motor Company, said back in his day was, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. And this is a hilarious quote, number one, because it just goes to show that when you ask somebody what they want, they're not always going to be able to explain it to you, right? Cars were not accessible back then, right? Not many people had cars in Henry Ford's day, and they knew they needed to get to some places faster, but they didn't know how to do it. So when you ask them, they're not going to be able to tell you. So Henry Ford was able to kind of give us a little bit of insight into what that UX UI design mindset means. And we'll kind of keep going here with a Henry Ford case study on disruptive innovation. So this is all about being user-centered, and let's kind of walk through this together. So the auto industry, right? In the early 20th century, the automobile industry was a playground for the elite. There was custom-made luxury cars that were just dominating the scene. If you had money, you could afford a car. If you didn't have money, you could not afford a car. And cars were custom-made. There was no standardized production to make these cars. It was something that you went and bought, and it was being put together in a very meticulous way. So this is where the disruptive innovation came in from Henry Ford. He was a disruptor who challenged that status quo. He came up with innovation in the form of the Model T, which was a standardized, affordable car that brought the automobile to the middle class doorstep. Right, the middle class was not a class that could afford a car back then. It was only available to the elite. But he figured out a way to make it accessible for the largest market that there was in the United States, the middle class. He was tech savvy. He turned his vision into reality, right? He embraced technology. He blended machines with assembly lines that allowed for innovation for quicker production, making cars more accessible than ever before. So because of his tech savviness, right, being able to see the technology at the time, he was able to use that to his advantage and turn something so luxurious, so scarce as a automobile and make it on a mass scale. And then lastly, he was customer focused. He focused on that customer to the core. He manufactured cars at half the price of the competition. He replaced the reliance on horse and carriage, and he opened up an entirely new era of transportation. So what does this have to do with UX UI design, right? We're talking about automobiles way back in the early 20th century, using machines that designers wouldn't even know how to operate in a production line. So, but what does this have to do with UX UI design? And that's where the idea of user-centered comes from. You hear that a lot in the design world, in the innovation world. It's bridging that past to the future with the entrepreneurial spirit with UX UI design. This wasn't just about cars. It was about empowering individuals, providing an affordable means of travel for the average person. His customer-focused approach transformed not just an industry, but the way people lived. And that is the exact same blueprint that we were talking about when we were talking about the Unicorn Club today, right? Uber transformed the way people live today. Instacart transformed the way people live today. All of these, even Airbnb transformed the way people live today, right? Going on vacation used to be a little bit stressful, having to find hotel rooms, especially if you're going with a large group of 10 people. Airbnb completely changed the way that we're able to travel. So the same way that Henry Ford brought cars to the doorstep of almost every single American, that is what the UX UI design, the user-centered approach, is going to help you get closer to. It's going to disrupt the norm. Like Henry Ford, entrepreneurs must disrupt the existing norms, identifying pain points, envisioning solutions that bring value to the customer. It leverages technology. You embrace technology. You embrace technology, design, and efficiency for disruptive outcomes. If you're not embracing technology as an entrepreneur, you're going to get left behind. You're going to get out competed, right? You need to embrace the technology that we have, the advancements that are coming, and use that technology to take your idea to next levels. And then customer-focused design, focusing on the customer, create products that not only address pain points, but also revolutionize the way customers experience and interact with their product. That is the Henry Ford blueprint, the UX UI design blueprint. It's exactly what you see in that Unicorn Club as well. So these three things are really critical as an entrepreneur when you have your ideas. And why is that? It's because it's about need finding. Okay, if you go back to that quote from Henry Ford from before, right? If I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. That's because at first glance, right? Pretend this is an image of an iceberg here. You see the top part where it says design thinking at first glance, and then there's a line, and then you see the bottom part where it says reality. That's under the surface, right? So in the spirit of Henry Ford, let's explore why entrepreneurs today need UX UI design, can use UX UI design. It's because it's the key to addressing that user pain point and providing valuable product experience. At the surface level, people will tell you their preferences. They'll speak to you. They'll tell you anything on their mind. You'll be able to observe behaviors, but you need to go deeper than that if you really want to address their needs. And that's what the substance level is all about. You will find below the surface the value that people hold. You'll be able to understand their point of view. They're not straight up telling it to you. They're not specifically communicating that and voicing it, but you're getting it in different types of trends and patterns by, kind of going beneath the surface there. And it's up to you to make meaning of their stories, right? So what we think about with UX UI design is not just taking things that people say at face value. If you're, as an entrepreneur with your idea that you have in mind, if you go and ask 100 people on the street what they think about your idea, there's a high chance 90% of those people are going to tell you it sounds great, because they don't want to hurt your feelings. But if you took some time to really sit down, understand them, get to know them, understand, what they're thinking, and then sort of take that data and dig into it, you're going to be able to take out some patterns and trends and really find out what it is that is beneath the surface